find somebody else to do what Deion Sanders does. You can't have this both ways. I don't judge him for taking the job at Colorado. They probably increased his salary by something like 15 times, right? I totally get that. It all makes sense. But what he did was something that college coaches do all the time, which is you have to sell people 4-year, 10-year plans when your plan is always 1 year at a time. That's the only way that you can really pull that off. And so he came in and he sold a long-term vision for what was going on at Jackson State, but his goals and ambitions were always to be a Power 5 head coach. My take has always been he went to Jackson State primarily because he wanted to be a head coach, but didn't want to ever be anybody's assistant coach. So he had to find somebody that would give him a job and make him a head coach, and so he could have that on his resume, and then he could take that to try to get the job that he actually wanted. Jackson State was the place that could do it, and he did a lot of good work while he was at Jackson State. But all the bigger, grandiose notions of what he was doing for somebody else, no, it was what it always is. He did it for Deion, and that's fine if you don't tell us that you're trying to do this for somebody else.
But can he do both? Can't he go to a program and be there for 3 years, only have 5 losses like he did, and bring the attention? Maybe the next person won't be, prime time. They won't be as charismatic as he is, but he still did bring attention to it. And what I've seen from the athletic director and other people is they were grateful for him, and they talked about him going on, and something he signaled because of the financial disparities here.
No, he's very good, but I think the magnitude of the financial disparity is so much greater than anybody realizes. I think the magnitude of the financial disparity between HBCUs and other FCS schools, the smaller division in Division I, is bigger than people realize it is. So there's room to criticize him for the way that he has left and for the fact that his initial rhetoric is not in line with his ultimate.
Yes, we are back here. Issues and Answers, Free Speech Friday. I am Scott Cannon. Over there is
Reverend Delwyn Campbell.
Yes, the Rev, back.
And it feels good.
Yes, reunited. So, as I played in the intro there, we really got on this topic because of Deion Sanders, Neon Deion, one of the greatest NFL players of all time, probably the greatest cornerback of all time. Very charismatic individual.
And a pretty good baseball player, too.
Yeah, you're right. Right.
Two-way.
Right. Definitely really good baseball player as well. Forget about that. But so anyway, a few years ago, he became the coach at Jackson State University, and he gave this long speech about, he started crying about how he wanted to help bring the HBCUs back, and how God had sent him to the HBCUs to help, revitalize the HBCUs. So here's his speech when he became the coach of Jackson State University. He talked about it. So yeah, here we are.
The legendary Deion Coach Sanders.
Very emotional here.
These are tears that you don't understand, the prayers that has been made. These are tears that has accompanied me through this journey. These are tears of satisfaction, Mr. President. These are tears of joy, Ashley. These are tears that just establish how proud I am to stand before my people. I said to stand before my people. I never read nothing. I usually come right off my cap, but it's a couple things that I wanted to truly establish. I believe that God led me here, not man. I'm gonna say that real slow. I believe that God led me here, not man, because man didn't believe that I was coming. W.C. Gordon, Jackie Slater, Lynn Barney, Robert Brazile, Eddie Payton, late Walter Payton, Jimmy Smith, and Houston Hoover, who drove me to every game, established a tradition here that I believe that we can reestablish. I believe the men that I sat and looked into their eyes on that Zoom call yesterday can win SWAC championships. I believe the sonic boom is the best thing since peanut butter and jelly. I believe that our commitment to excellence academically can continue. I believe that our student enrollment can increase. I believe that the crime in this community could cease. I believe that these young men that we're raising is going to be pillars in the community, not only professional football players, but professionals.
So yeah, that was
Thanks for watching ESPN
that
on
was
YouTube.
that was Deion's speech when he became, and so a lot of people are sitting there like, okay, he said all this stuff, he sold all these wolf tickets to these people, making them think that the destination that he wanted to really be at an HBCU, as opposed to just use them as a stepping stone to get to somewhere else. And so now a lot of people are looking at it as they feel betrayed on some level, and the talk has been, well, did he sell out, by leaving? He said he wanted to bring up the HBCUs. He stays for a few years, and then he leaves the first time that he gets an opportunity. What do you think, bro?
So what you're saying is people thought that Deion Sanders was the reincarnation of Eddie Robinson.
Something like that. I think a lot of people did think that, yeah.
Now, did they think that all on their own? Or did he say some things that kind of led you in that direction?
Right. Well, a little bit of both. A little bit of both. I feel like I watched an interview with him and Michael Strahan, who's one of the great defensive players of all time. He actually went to a historical black college too. I think he went to Texas Western or something like that. But yeah, and so again, all the interviews that Deion did when he became the coach, it was always, look, the prize is to be here at the HBCUs. Like that is the prize. I think I think like above all else, Deion Sanders is a salesman. He's always been that. We've always loved that about him. He's one of my favorite athletes of all time because he was such a great salesman. And so I think on a lot of level, he was great at selling the idea that I'm here to, like you said, be the new Eddie Robinson or be this sort of galvanizing figure to lead the charge for HBCUs. And then he leaves. And he takes his son. His son is the team's quarterback. So now they don't have a coach and a quarterback. They don't have the coach. They don't have the quarterback. And so now they have to essentially start from zero, or at least kind of start a little bit. And so I think this brings back to a question. What do black elites owe HBCUs, and what do we owe HBCUs as the black community?
And I think that is a fair question. And right along with it is the other one you asked. What role should HBCUs play today? I read one article. One of the issues with HBCUs is that for the most part, they are private colleges. At one time, the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod had an HBCU. Concordia Selma was a historically black college. It was created by the Missouri Synod to be a place that black pastors could be developed. They were not allowed to go to St. Louis. They were not allowed to go to Fort Wayne. Before Selma, they had a college in North Carolina that closed in the 60s, or rather in the late 50s, early 60s, and so they opened Selma. Well, about 2-3 years ago, because of funding, it closed. Well, it was partly because of funding. But here's the other part, the bigger part. HBCUs existed because of Jim Crow.
Right.
Just like a lot of the black economic structure, when we talk about Black Wall Street, things like that, basically those things existed just like black media, black banks. It all existed because of Jim Crow.
Right.
Once you take Jim Crow out of the picture, and we can spend our money wherever we want to. We can invest wherever we want to. We can get educated wherever we want to. The draw for HBCUs, either you had to come up with another reason to make it a legitimate choice, or you had to face the fact that they were going to be reaching the end of their lifespan.
Right.
And so we have sort of, I remember growing up watching Grambling on TV, Grambling football on TV. I remember saying when I was a little boy, I want to go to Grambling. In fact, to this day, I've always said, if I could just take a checkbook and go into an admissions office and say, how much does it cost to get a 4-year degree here? And then write the check. If I had that kind of money, I would love to go to an HBCU for the experience. But, most people that go to a state college go there among other reasons, but one of the big reasons is cost.
Right.
A state college gets state funding. The employees are paid as state employees. The professors, all the way down. State money covers that. So that's why it costs less to go to an Indiana university. It costs less to go to an LSU. It costs less to go to a University of California or a Cal State than it would to go to an HBCU, because the state is funding that stuff. So, if you got the money to make the choice, or if you got the skills so that an HBCU would give you the scholarship to go, God bless you. But the reality is, for many of our young people here in Gary, if money is part of the equation of where they're going to go to college, they're probably going to end up at Indiana University or Purdue, because it's cheaper for them to go there to get the same level of a college education. Now, there is another thing that plays into all this we don't talk about also. One of the benefits of going to college, it's not about the education. It's not about the stuff you learn. It's about the connections that you make.
Yes.
That's really where the investment is. That's why going to an Ivy League college
is really,
yeah, that's where it is. And that's where HBCU, gets its shine. If you're going to be working in an area where having those kind of connections matters, then HBCU moves up. But if it doesn't matter whether you go to Jackson or to Purdue, then the cost factor again.
Right. Let me get this caller really quick because they've been good on hold. Hello, caller.
All right, good evening. I'm listening to you guys' program.
Yes.
What part of the TV program you look at in the morning called The Price is Right? And what record did the OJs put out about that almighty dollar?
For the love of money, yeah.
When you talking about them dollar bills, they don't give a doggone about a black college, all black, or historical, whatever. You out there to do what? All of us in this world is out here to do what?
Make money.
You mentioned
make a living.
You mentioned some songs. There's another good one on that theme. Lou Rawls did one. Have you seen old Dollar Green? I'm looking for him right now. If you see him, send him to me right away.
Hey, it's all about that paper, baby.
That's it.
All right.
Paper. So you can't blame Deion Sanders for what he did. He got in there and did what he did to make this college look good and everything. And like you say, what they offering him, $5 million a year? You wouldn't go? You wouldn't take your son, daughter, wife, and everybody else and go?
You got a point. I mean, the only argument I've heard that went against that from others was some people claiming, well, he's wealthy enough that he really didn't need the money. Well, I'm not his accountant, so I don't know how much he actually, needs.
Right.
How can somebody sit back and say what somebody don't need?
Only his accountant knows.
Yeah, I heard that.
You could go out here right now and hit a lottery for $100 million. And you go out there and probably a week or two later and hit it for another $100 million. What you going to say? I don't need this. I already got $100 million. Y'all keep this. you ain't gonna keep it.
All right.
How you gonna tell somebody how much is enough? It ain't gonna never be enough. Greed.
Yep.
As long as I can make this, give it to me. Look at all these football players and basketball players go to these colleges. Back in the day, here they was giving their mom and daddy a new home, brand new car. Don't tell nobody about this. Now you looking at your neighbor riding around here in a putt-putt. All of a sudden, he got a brand new Escalade, house fixed up, money. He's going to the boat, gambling again. Where do you think he got that money from?
He had to come from somebody.
Right. But what about the argument? What about the argument that in order that other groups of people and well, I ain't gonna say any groups because I don't want to get canceled now. But in order for groups to rise, could you turn on your radio? Because I can hear myself. Yeah, in order for groups to come up, there has to be a certain level of sacrifice, especially those of us who are elites who have something. That in order for the group, that at some point people have to start sacrificing for the greater good of the community in order for us to, have strong institutions, etc. Like I was following Yvette Carnell, who is she's the founder of ADOS with she's the founder of ADOS with Antonio Moore, and she's talking about, look, I've taken less my whole career in situations when I could help other black people, because that's what you do when you can help your people. You take less, because sometimes it takes that sacrifice in order for the whole community to be able to get somewhere together. So what would you say to that?
Well, I appreciate people doing things like that, to take less to help blacks. But you got a lot of people out there ain't going to take less. They looking for their own pockets, what they can get out of this. What am I going to get out of this? I enjoy you guys' program, but like I say, when it comes to that almighty dollar, hey, them dollar bills, baby.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
I heard that. Thank you for your call, sir. Call back anytime. To give some sort of details of how things are going at HBCUs, a lot of them are really struggling. 75% of the students at HBCUs are Pell Grant recipients. Now, there was a study that showed the barriers that are being faced by the students at the HBCUs. 46% of the respondents said that they experienced food insecurity in the last 30 days. So that's almost half of the people at HBCUs are not eating regularly or are in danger of not eating regularly. 55% said that they had experienced housing insecurity. 55%, a fifth of the students surveyed said that they had experienced homelessness in the past year. Under the criteria of the survey, that includes living without a home, temporarily living with relatives, or living in a space not meant for human habitation.
Ew.
Yeah, more than 10% of public HBCU students and 16% of private HBCU students who participated in the survey, moved 3 or more times in the past year. And according to the report, students of color were more disproportionately impacted by the widespread layoffs and furloughs caused by the pandemic. So on this survey, 40% of the students lost full-time jobs and 57% lost part-time jobs. What's even crazier is during the pandemic, a quarter of the students lost a family or family member to COVID-19. So these kids are really struggling at the HBCUs. We saw at Jackson State, which is in Jackson, Mississippi, we saw they had that water crisis. And so if you're on social media, which I am a lot, there was constant videos of kids from Jackson State showing the type of living conditions they were in because of the lack of water. So they were showing all the ways that they had to do in order to take a shower or to brush their teeth or just to be able to make a meal. And I'm telling you, it was a mess. It was an absolute mess and horrific, like third world conditions, what these kids at Jackson State were having to go through. So that's what the type of living conditions that they are going through.
Now, and the thing about that, given that so many of these HBCUs are, again, private institutions, because the ones that are public institutions, the few that are, basically were state colleges that were designed for blacks during Jim Crow.
Right.
So they're getting the same money that the other state colleges are getting. So then that's where you can talk about funding disparities or how the funds are being allocated or are they being misused. Because, again, they're playing, if there's I'm trying to remember, I think there's a Louisiana college that's
Southern? Is it Southern?
It may be Southern that is actually a state college. And so it gets money just like LSU gets money from the state funding. The salaries and everything is based on state formulas. But for the rest of them, if you got to pay salaries and money don't grow on trees. So what does a private college do to get money? Well, it raises funds.
Right.
It tries to get people who graduated from those schools to, donate, whether when they die or what have you. So you got these HBCUs, many of whom have sent people into professional sports, who have done well for themselves.
Yep.
So do those people have an obligation or responsibility to sow into, to keep those schools resupplied?
Right, I agree. Before we take this caller, because we got a caller who's been on the line for a minute
already.
I want to talk about some of the notable HBCU alumni that, just to give you guys the idea of how integral HBCUs have been to not just Black life, but American life over the last 150 years. Alice Walker went to Spelman. Doug Williams, the first Black quarterback to win a Super Bowl, went to Grambling State. The NASA mathematician, Katherine Johnson, who they made the movie, what's the movie called? Hidden Figures.
Uh-huh.
She went to West Virginia State, which was a historically Black college. Ralph Abernathy, the civil rights activist, went to Clark Atlanta. The Tuskegee Airmen, who fought in World War II, helped beat Hitler. They obviously went to Tuskegee. Walter Payton, in my opinion, the greatest football player ever, went to Jackson State. Booker T. Washington, W.E.B. Du Bois, Martin Luther King, Thurgood Marshall, the very first Black Supreme Court Justice, Toni Morrison, Spike Lee, the first Black Vice President, Kamala Harris, our current Vice President. She went to Howard. The first Black governor post Reconstruction, Douglas Wilder from Virginia. He went to a HBCU, and the richest Black woman on the planet. And for a while there, I think she was the richest Black person, period. Oprah. Oprah went to Tennessee State. So think about a world without Oprah. Think about a world without Thurgood Marshall, Martin Luther King, Booker T. Washington, Walter Payton, the Tuskegee Airmen, Ralph Abernathy, and all these people, and you just go, oh my God. So I actually agree with Rev that we do need to ask, do these people who came from all this owe these HBCUs? But we got to get to this caller because they've been on the line for a few minutes. Hello, caller.
Hey, good evening, Rev. Great to hear back. Good evening, Scott. Great show as usual.
Oh, well, thank you.
I just want to say, and this is a great topic as well because, it's a lot of issues here, right? And so it's like a fundamental question. Let's say it's Black or African Americans, FBAs, what we're using this week. What is success, right?
Right.
Is success about the money, or is it the Garvism? Is it building your own community? Or are we so much integrated now, we have gifts and skill sets such like the Deion Sanders, can it really be contained?
That's
when
a good question.
When I heard Deion Sanders talk, big fan of Deion Sanders, he did a great job at Jackson State. But when he said, well, he mentioned his people first, got his exact verbiage, right? He said, yeah, I'm hearing about Black people, but then, everybody in general. And so I think that the HBCU gave him an opportunity to get the platform and show what he can do, and now he shares his gifts with the world. And so that's a fundamental question we have to ask. And it's okay for Yvette Carnell. Look, I'll give you an example, right? When I first graduated from college, right, my aunt and my uncle, for lack of better words, what they're doing was legal. They worked for, I say arms dealers, right? They were selling weapons and contractors for the war industrial complex, right?
Uh-huh.
So when I graduated from college, I said, okay, well, we can hook you up here. Go ahead and just fill us out, then, whatever. You come here and live with us and whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you guys know me. I'm like, nah, I'm not feeling that, right?
Right.
So I think all of us struggle with that in terms of how much to give. I'm talking about in terms of time. Like you guys do a great job of representing issues concerning black people, all over the world and country, and all be a very unconscious way, right?
Yeah.
What if, let's say, like a white-owned network of stations say, Scott Rev, here's a bag of dough. You got to change a little bit of the show, but here's the opportunity, right?
Right.
Right.
And so I don't know. Do you the way Deion made it sound, he almost told me, do you let your gifts be marginalized? You can always help the community, but I think if it's given that great, you almost forced to share with the world, I would say,
Well, I guess it gets down to what is the goal. If the goal is that we be able to go anywhere that any other American can go, do anything that any other American can do, then at some point, the whole notion that we have this little enclave, if you will, becomes, difficult to sustain.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. It's because we don't have the sort of, the infrastructure to absorb billions of dollars, right? It's going to go outside our community.
Right.
And so I agree with nation building. I also agree in HBCUs because of the people that Scott just mentioned, right? But by the same token, the reality of it is this. We live inside a country, and we're so integrated to the point that, in terms of business at a certain level, you because we don't have infrastructure. That's only why. Right. You're going to have to deal with people outside your community, and other people are going to benefit off your talents. Now, once we get the infrastructure, but still, once we do get the infrastructure, and I want to say this. I think that I like Deion Sanders, and when he said to speak, I said, okay, it's okay. And I can appreciate what Yvette Carnell did.
Right.
And so I'm okay with Deion said because of the way he explained it. Okay, my gifts, I did what I think Jackson State, it wasn't for Jackson State, he never be in the position he was in, right?
Right.
And so didn't the HBU didn't they succeed in their mission in terms of that? He wanted those young men to succeed in NFL. No blacks don't own NFL, right?
You know what? Hey, think about this. We don't have a National Black Football League, right?
Right.
So if you're a college football player, whether you play at Grambling or at Alabama, what's your goal?
To get to the NFL.
To get to the NFL.
Right.
Not the NBFL. The NFL.
Right.
And so at some point, you're going to leave the enclave.
Right.
You're going to go out there into the bigger world. There's no way out of that. Like you said, Deion Sanders, if his goal was to just be the next Eddie Robinson, then he should have stayed where he was.
Right.
But if his goal was to get as high as Deion Sanders can go, well, he's not going to be able to do that staying in the SWAC.
That's true. But see, here's the thing. Like, I think that ultimately, I don't necessarily think I expected him to be Eddie Robinson per se. But I do think that what I thought would be the goal would be that he would stay long enough, maybe 10 years or so, and help turn Jackson State into a national power. And then maybe if he was going to leave, he would leave and go to Alabama or one of the schools that are like the top of the top, because Colorado, if you actually look at the news, Colorado doesn't know they'll be able to actually pay him. They don't have the money yet.
Right.
They said they don't even have the money to pay him. So he might be leaving for a place that they don't even fully have the money, but he's just trusting that, I guess, because they are a predominantly white institution, that they'll get the money.
It's a state college, right?
Right. So he think that, they're a state college and they'll get the money.
They'll get the money.
Yeah, but they don't have it yet.
Right.
So they said we don't have it yet.
Yeah, right.
So that's what I said. I thought maybe what he would do is maybe stay 10 years, turn Jackson State into a power, and then you'd start, and in that time, that would give enough other schools enough time to start, building their own sort of arms as well. And then by the time he did leave, there would be a sort of a sustainable world without him. I don't think anybody expected 3 years. I don't think anybody expected that he'd be gone this quickly. And so I understand that eventually he would have to go. I just think that it may have been a little bit too early.
Wait, I hear another song here. BB King. You might have made your move too soon.
I thought he at least wait till his sons graduated, but I guess
Right.
I think one is stuck because he can't transfer again.
Yeah.
So I mean,
And he's taking the other one with him. Yeah. He's like, y'all got to find a new quarterback. Yeah.
Once again, enjoying the show, guy. Glad to hear back, Rev. Enjoying the show.
Yes, yes. Thank you for calling. You call back anytime, brother.
Man, we're coming close to the top of the hour, but
Yeah.
I'm really thinking about this. He might have, I get it. Colorado, threw out the lifeline and he grabbed at it.
Right.
But, maybe if he would have waited a little while to welcome what he was after, it might have been some better options.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was
Because
figuring
here's what
Alabama.
happens. What happens? He goes to Colorado, and Colorado's been doing badly these past few years.
Yeah.
What if he doesn't turn them around?
Immediately, because they're going to expect him. See, that's another thing. The predominantly white schools, they want to win now. Okay, they're not going to give you the grace that black folks would give Deion Sanders. Black folks would have given Deion Sanders 8 years of losing, 5 years, maybe even 10 years of losing, just because he's Deion Sanders and he's trying to do something good for his people.
Yeah.
Okay. But the PWI, if he doesn't get it together, very quickly they'll be calling for his head. I'm a big Notre Dame has always been my team. I've loved Notre Dame my whole life. They just hired a young black guy as their coach this year named Marcus Freeman.
Right.
And this brother started out slow. And if I think Notre Dame started out something like 3-2 and 4 or something like that. And there were already people said, we got to get rid of this brother already. And this dude, I think, is in his 30s or early 40s. And I was thinking, oh, God, please don't let them fire this man. He just got here, please. And finally, they started putting together some big wins. And now everybody's like, okay, Marcus Freeman can coach. But at the big schools, they expect you to do something immediately.
Yeah.
They're not going to give him the grace that black folks would have given Deion Sanders. They're not going to love him the way that black folks love Deion Sanders. They let him bring his kids along. Like that's sort of the thing. Like I said, the whole reason that it was supposed to be it was supposed to be everybody coalesce around Deion. He's gonna. The force of personality, the force of will, the fact that he's in the SWAC now is going to attract other talent to the SWAC because kids know they will be on TV every week now. Whoever's playing Deion Sanders against Deion Sanders, their team will be on TV because Deion Sanders is going to be on TV. And so that was, I figured, like I said, it would at least be 10 years. I figured, and then if he wanted to go to Alabama or if he wanted to go to USC or UCLA, one of those, top of the top tier jobs, then okay. But I did not think it would only take 3 years, and I didn't think he would take the first job the white man threw at him. And they don't even know if they're going to pay him or not.
Yeah, this, the more you dig into this thing,
it's one of those.
You know what?
Yeah.
Deion is always, like you said earlier, Deion has always been good at selling Deion. It's selling the sizzle.
Yeah. So, like, it's almost like a situation where it almost feels like he's just saying the white man's ice is colder. Like, that's almost in a way how it kind of feels, where it's like he just figured that it would be okay just because they will find a way to pay me. They'll find a way to make things all right for me. And I'm not really 100% sure of that.
And if they don't, he's not going to tell it.
Right.
Because he's all about selling the sizzle.
Right.
If they don't come up with that money, he won't be the one that tells you that, well, I took a leap of faith and I guess I leapt too soon. He's not going to tell it.
Right.
It's going to be all roses and lollipops from him. Whatever happens, we won't hear about it unless somebody else, makes it known. But here's the thing, like you said, you go into that world, they expect results now, and it won't matter to them that he came and turned Jackson around, in 3 years. He turned him around from struggling school to SWAC winner, because at the end of the day, they're going to say SWAC is not the Big Ten.
Yep, they will definitely say that, and that's the whole point. Okay, folks, please stay with us when we get back. It's time for the Happy Happies.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll be right back after these on WLTH 1370 AM. I'm Scott Cannon. Over there is the Rev. Please give us a call, 219-885-1371. And if you didn't hear me this time, I'll tell you again. Wait, why do I keep doing this?
You are listening to Scott and the Rev on WLTH 1370 AM. Give us a call, 219-885-1371.